9 to 5 Mac is brought to you by iMazing 3, now in beta for macOS. iMazing 3 is a native Mac app featuring a complete architectural overhaul. It's got a brand new UI that's faster and even easier to use with your iPhone, iPad, or iPod. Of course, all the life-saving staples are here. Photo extractions, text message exporting, quick file transfers between iPhone or iPad and macOS or Windows, iOS local backup management with device snapshots, and tons more. It's so good, iMazing put together a teaser video. Time, use the coupon 9to5 iMazing3 at checkout to get 30% off until the end of October. Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac. Titanium enclosure. The iPhone 15 Pro arrives in 4 colors, but the black titanium is the best looking color in the lineup, and in my opinion, it's the best iPhone design since 2012's black iPhone 5. If you know, you know. But unlike that black iPhone 5, which was notorious for chips in its anodized aluminum exterior, the iPhone 15 Pro uses something different. It uses a PVD coating, which is a 14-hour process that vaporizes solid material in a vacuum and deposits it on the titanium surface. Experts note that PVD coatings are more wear resistant and retain color better over time, so obviously time will tell, but it has to be better than the iPhone 5, right? Smaller bezels. It sounds like a small change, but the smaller bezels on the iPhone 15 Pro, the thinnest ever on an iPhone, are immediately noticeable when compared to last year's model. And instead of using that extra real estate to increase the size of the screen, Apple wisely reduced the device's dimensions. The result? Well, the iPhone 15 Pro is easier to hold in the hand, while the edge-to-edge design stands out even more. Contoured edges. The iPhone 13's redesign, which reinstituted the flat edges of the iPhone 4 era design, came at a cost. Well, it's not really a cost, but yet people were saying that the device felt sharp in their hand because of the 90-degree angles. And this design, which was carried over to the iPhone 14 lineup, has been slightly tweaked for the iPhone 15. So instead of those sharp 90-degree corners, the iPhone 15 adopts subtle contoured edges that make it more comfortable to hold in the hand. And it does so without compromising that iconic squared-off look. Size and weight reduction. As a result of its titanium enclosure, the iPhone 15 Pro nets a significant reduction in weight compared to its stainless steel predecessor. The iPhone 14 Pro Max, for instance, weighs 240 grams, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max weighs just 221 grams. That may not seem like a huge reduction on the surface, but in the hand and in the pocket, the difference is noticeable. In addition to the weight reduction, the aforementioned smaller bezels result in a slight footprint reduction as well, and that's always nice to have. But that being said, the latest Gen Pro models are slightly thicker on paper, but it's hardly discernible with those new contoured edges. Better materials and efficiency. Apple, in its initiative to reduce its carbon footprint, has made the following efficiency changes to its packaging and materials for the iPhone 15 Pro. For example, there's 99% more fiber-based packaging versus 95% on the iPhone 14 Pro. There's also 100% recycled aluminum in the internal structural frame and 100% recycled cobalt in the battery, among several other improvements. More repairable internal chassis. One of the biggest problems with the iPhone 14 Pro is that replacing the back glass is expensive due to the complexity of the replacement process. If you don't have AppleCare, you'll be charged a whopping $549 to replace the back glass on the iPhone 14 Pro. Thankfully, the iPhone 15 Pro features an updated internal chassis that's easier to repair, which makes that cost significantly cheaper at just $199. Standby. Standby is a new software feature found in iOS 17 that provides glanceable information when your phone is connected to a MagSafe charger in landscape mode. It's available for all iPhones capable of running iOS 17, but only the latest 2 Pro designated models, the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 Pro, can take full advantage of this feature thanks to their always-on displays. The USB-C port on all iPhone 15 models is a standard port with no Apple certification requirements for cables or accessories. That means that it works with tons of USB-C enabled accessories right out of the box. For instance, the USB-C port can be used for the following purposes: charging, data, audio, video mirroring, and video out support. Braided USB-C charge cable. As it's always always done, Apple includes a charging cable in the iPhone's box, but there are two differences this time around. The first difference is the fact that it's a USB-C to USB-C cable, not a Lightning to USB-C cable. The second difference is now a premium braided cable, which in theory should hold up better than a standard polymer house cable. One thing to note is that the USB-C charge cable is for just that, basically, charging. You'll need to use a USB cable that supports USB 3.1 and not the one that's included in the box if you want to take advantage of display output and the iPhone 15 Pro's faster USB speeds. 4K HDR video output. Prior to the iPhone 15 lineup, connecting an iPhone to an external display to do mirroring or video output via a cable required Apple's Lightning digital AV adapter. Output resolution maxed out at 1080p and HDR wasn't supported at all. Thanks to the DisplayPort alt mode capabilities of the USB-C connection, all iPhone 15 models allow users to output 4K HDR directly from the USB-C cable to a USB-C display like Apple's Pro Display XDR or Studio Display. But what if you don't own a monitor with USB-C video input? In that case, simply use a USB-C to HDMI adapter that supports HDMI 2.0 or higher. Power sharing. Thanks to USB-C, iPhone 15 supports USB power delivery at up to 4.5 watts. This allows you to charge AirPods Pro, Apple Watch, or another iPhone even. The iPhone with the lower power is the one that charges, while Lightning-enabled iPhones get priority. The generous amount of power delivery will also mean that all sorts of peripherals, including microphones, audio interfaces, and other bus-powered devices should play nice with iPhone 15 Pro. USB-C EarPods. Apple recently launched a brand new pair of EarPods with a USB-C connector, and they feature a DAC that supports lossless audio up to 48 kHz. Of course, Apple Music supports two lossless audio quality settings, one being 24-bit 48 kHz, the other being high-res lossless 24-bit 192 kHz. So this means EarPods USB-C users will be able to enjoy standard lossless audio via Apple Music. Qi 2 for wireless charging. Apple says that iPhone 15 supports the new Qi 2 standard, but no one really knows what that actually means yet. Qi 2 technically unlocks 15-watt wireless charging for any Qi 2 certified accessory, but currently at least only MagSafe accessories certified by Apple offer the 15 watts wireless charging to iPhone users. Stay tuned. New iPhone 15 Pro wallpaper. iPhone 15 Pro includes a new wallpaper with 4 different color options to match the 4 available titanium colors: natural, blue, white, and black. While these wallpapers are available to download on the web, the ones included with the iPhone 15 Pro are dynamic, meaning they change states when the device is always on display as resting versus an awake state. Action button. The action button is a new button that replaces the ring silent switch that's been a staple of iPhone hardware since the original debuted way back in 2007. Via a long press, the action button defaults to switching between ring and silent, but similarly to the action button on Apple Watch Ultra, its functionality can be changed to do other things. Users can assign the action button to switch focus modes, launch the camera, turn on the flashlight or magnifier, or start a voice memo. The button can also be used to directly enable certain accessibility features, and in the future will work with the Translate app. But the most exciting thing about the action button is that it can be used with shortcuts. And with shortcuts, that means I can do all sorts of things. I can, for instance, control my lights just by pressing the action button like that. 256 gigabytes base storage. Apple raised the price of the iPhone 15 Pro Max by $100, but instead of starting with 128 gigabytes of storage, the Max version of the iPhone 15 Pro starts at 256. This is Apple's roundabout way of justifying their price increase. Case in point, the 6.1-inch iPhone 15 Pro still comes with just 128 gigabytes of storage on the cheapest $999 configuration. And to be honest, if you plan on using the phone to its full potential, I would definitely recommend at least 256. 8 gigabytes of RAM. Remember when it was a big deal when the iPhone 6s was finally bumped to 2 gigabytes of RAM? That notable memory increase provided a much improved Safari experience among other benefits. The iPhone 15 Pro includes a massive 8 gigabytes of RAM, a 2 gigabyte bump over its predecessor, and the same amount of memory as a base model MacBook. The result is an iPhone that handles multitasking even better and improved performance for apps. Think video and photo editing apps for sure, things that put that memory to good use. Limit maximum battery charge. New iPhone 15 Pro models include a new battery charge limiting option to better preserve the device's battery. By visiting Settings, Battery Health and Charging Optimization, users can choose to limit battery charging to about 80% in order to reduce battery aging. A17 Pro chip. The A17 Pro that's found exclusively in the iPhone 15 Pro models features the world's first 3nm process and includes 19 billion transistors. What's really wild is that the elements of those transistors on the A17 Pro are just over 12 silicon atoms wide and is made possible by extreme ultraviolet lithography on state-of-the-art EUV systems for chip production by a Dutch company, ASML Holding. CPU. The A17 Pro's CPU features the familiar 6-core setup with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. Compared to last year's A16 Bionic, the A17 Pro nets speeds up to 10% faster. And while a 10% increase is decent, it's really more about the efficiency and the other elements of the A17 Pro that stand out. Neural Engine. Case in point, the A17 Pro's Neural Engine receives a significant improvement. It's still a 16-core unit, but it's now 2 times faster and can perform nearly 35 trillion operations per second. With each generation of the iPhone and each update to iOS, the Neural Engine becomes more important as more features, both hardware and software, rely on machine learning and computational power provided by the Neural Engine. Things like graphics upscaling, computational photography, and so much more. GPU. By far the biggest year-over-year enhancement provided by the A17 Pro involves the GPU, which is now a 6-core design that features up to 20% faster peak performance. For the first time, the iPhone's GPU provides hardware-accelerated ray tracing for even more realistic lighting effects, which is a huge 4 times leap over software-based effects. AV1 hardware decoder. The A17 Pro chip includes a built-in AV1 hardware decoder, a first for any Apple product. Long touted as the successor to Google's VP9 codec, AV1 is a royalty-free open video coding format created by the Alliance for Open Media, of which Apple is a member. Unlike HEVC, which features complex licensing processes and high royalty fees, AV1 is completely open, and thus you can see why it would be so attractive to content providers like Netflix, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple, etc. Initially, users will probably see little benefit to having AV1 decoding on board, but this addition should definitely help the codec gain much needed traction. USB 3 support. Finally, the A17 Pro brings forth faster 10 gigabits per second USB speeds thanks to its onboard USB controller with USB 3 support. This change has been a long time coming for iPhone users and will especially benefit those engaging in pro video and photo workflows. USB 3 support means it'll be much faster to transfer large ProRes files to other devices, and it will also open up other interesting features like recording ProRes directly to an external SSD and offloading raw photos instantly. 48 megapixel main camera. Like the main camera in the baseline iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Pro features a 48 megapixel quad pixel sensor, but at 2.44 microns for a quad pixel, which translates to an absolute pixel pitch of 1.22 microns, versus the iPhone 15's 1 micron, the Pro model has a significantly larger sensor than the one found on the baseline iPhone 15. So even though both share 48 megapixel sensors, the iPhone 15 Pro performs better in low light than the baseline model. 48 megapixel heif max photos. Prior to the release of iOS 17, 48 megapixel photos were limited to Apple ProRAW format. They're much larger than your typical compressed photo format. iPhone 15 Pro features an option to take advantage of all the sensor's pixels with the storage-friendly and ready-to-share heif max format. heif max photos are 15 times smaller in size than 48 megapixel ProRAW photos, saving tons of storage space per photo. 7 focal lengths in one body. So you have the macro, which uses that ultra-wide camera. You have the ultra-wide camera at 13 millimeters. You have the main camera at 24 millimeters. The main camera 28 millimeters. The main camera at 35 millimeters. The main camera at 48 millimeters. And then that telephoto at 120 millimeters. Quickly toggle between 3 focal lengths. The main camera is capable of shooting photos in focal lengths of 24, 28, and 35 millimeters, with users being able to quickly switch between each focal length by simply tapping on the 1x camera. Users also have the option to set a preferred focal length as the default. New photonic engine. The iPhone 15 Pro's new photonic engine combines the best pixels from a super high resolution image and blends it together with a smaller resolution photo that's optimized for light capture. So this results in a higher resolution 24 megapixel default photo from that main camera that captures more detail without having to change any settings. It just does it automatically. Smart HDR5. Apple's Smart HDR pipeline has been upgraded for the iPhone 15 to better optimize subject and background. Compared to the 4th generation Smart HDR, Smart HDR5 should result in more accurate skin tones and less blown out highlights when shooting high contrast scenes. Improved night mode. Thanks to the computational improvements of the A17 Pro, along with the larger sensor with larger pixels, overall low light performance has improved with the iPhone 15 Pro, and thus benefits are seen in night mode as well. Cinematic mode 2x optical zoom. Cinematic mode on iPhone 14 Pro gave users the choice between 1x and 3x optical zoom. But with the iPhone 15 Pro, users can choose between the 1x or 2x cameras, and the 2x 48mm focal length is using that main camera, providing you with a more ideal general purpose option for cinematic mode. It results in higher quality and better stabilized footage. Next gen portrait photos. Now the device will automatically capture depth information even when not explicitly using portrait mode in the default camera app. If the subject is a human, a cat, or a dog, your iPhone is going to automatically capture that depth information. Inside the Photos app, you'll find controls for adjusting focus and depth control when editing. And if you already have a library of portrait photos taken with an iPhone 13 or later, you're going to be able to adjust focus and depth control for those photos as well. Users will also appreciate continuous zoom, which keeps your shot in frame and doesn't black out even when switching between lenses. Ultra-wide camera. The ultra-wide camera doesn't receive any major optical upgrades this year, but it does receive a new anti-reflective coating alongside improved night mode, and it comes with smart HDR5. 5x 120mm zoom lens. The biggest new iPhone 15 Pro feature is exclusive to the larger iPhone 15 Pro Max. The larger enclosure allows enough room for a new Apple-designed tetraprism camera, which folds the glass structure below the lens to reflect light rays 4 times over. This system provides enough space between the sensor and the lens to accommodate a 5x telephoto option. Along with the 120mm 35mm equivalent focal length, the 5x camera includes 100% focus pixels at a constant f2.8 aperture. This results in awesome optical bokeh without needing to rely on computational processing like portrait mode. The 5x camera features a sensor that's 25% larger than the 3x telephoto camera found in the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and is now a major differentiating factor between the baseline 15 Pro and the Pro Max model. 3D sensor shift OIS. One of the inherent issues with longer focal lengths is that they are much more sensitive to movement. Thus, stabilization is often necessary to get the desired shot. For the 5x camera, Apple designed a new 3D sensor shift module. This new module moves on 3 axes, combining OIS and autofocus, and provides improved stabilization with up to 10,000 micro adjustments per second, which is double that of the previous generation. Digital zoom improvements. Thanks to the new 5x telephoto lens, iPhone 15 Pro Max gets a significant digital zoom upgrade when compared to last year's model. iPhone 15 Pro Max features 25x zoom for photos versus just 15x on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it has 15x zoom for videos versus just 9x on the 14 Pro Max. Stabilization is also much improved on the iPhone 15 Pro Max thanks to that new 3D sensor shift OIS. So digital zoom is a lot less shaky at those longer zoom distances. New overlay guide in the camera app. Once you venture to 8x zoom or higher, you'll find a new overlay guide in the stock camera app that helps you to gain context of where you're aiming to help line up your shots. This guide dynamically appears based on how far you've zoomed in, and it works for both videos and photos. Instantly transfer 48 megapixel ProRAW photos. Thanks to the USB 3 connectivity on iPhone 15 Pro, you can shoot and instantly transfer 48 megapixel Apple ProRAW photos directly to your Mac running Capture One. Record ProRes directly to external SSD. This will be especially useful for iPhone rigs featuring mounting points for an external SSD. This affords users with nearly unlimited storage that you can plug directly into your Mac and start editing in your favorite NLE of choice. ProRes 4K 60 support. iPhone 15 Pro can also support ProRes 4K 60 capture via the default camera app when shooting directly to an external SSD. The third-party Blackmagic camera app can bypass this restriction. Not only can it shoot in ProRes LT, a much more storage-conscious flavor of ProRes, but it can also shoot ProRes 60 directly to the internal storage with no restrictions. Log encoding. Shooting in log provides flat footage that's much more flexible for grading to accommodate your creative taste. The pipeline that Apple uses with the iPhone 15 Pro provides outstanding-looking footage that doesn't look like it originated from a smartphone at all. One of the biggest benefits of shooting log is that you're able to bypass a lot of the over-sharpening that plagues many smartphone cameras today, providing a much more pleasing look. Spatial video capture. By combining video from the main camera and the ultra-wide camera, iPhone 15 Pro can create a 3-dimensional video that will be ready to view on the Apple Vision Pro when it launches later next year. TrueDepth camera upgrades. The TrueDepth camera gets next-generation portrait mode with focus and depth control. It gets smart HDR5, improved night mode, ProRes video recording up to 4K 60 when using an external SSD, and log video recording. Improved phone call quality. With iPhone 15, Apple uses a more advanced machine machine learning model that automatically prioritizes your voice to enhance phone call quality. The iPhone 15 lineup uses Qualcomm's new X70 modem, which is already being used with flagship Android devices. The new modem provides lower power consumption gains, improved 5G carrier aggregation capabilities, and better connectivity when further away from a cell tower. As a result, you can get up to 24% faster 5G speeds when compared to speeds of the iPhone 14. Wi-Fi 6E. Up until now, Wi-Fi 6E support was not available on Apple's flagship smartphone. That changes with the iPhone 15 Pro. Of course, you'll need to have a Wi-Fi 6E enabled router like the aptly named Eero Pro 6E in order to take advantage of the benefits. Wi-Fi 6E builds on the foundation of Wi-Fi 6 by enabling access to substantially less crowded 6 GHz spectrum that affords increased throughput via wider channels, among other benefits. Second generation ultra-wideband chip. Apple's second generation ultra-wideband chip is able to connect to other devices with the same second gen chip up to 3 times farther away than before. The new chip also supports precision finding for Find My Friends, along with better HomePod Now Playing suggestions. Thread networking technology. Built-in Thread connectivity should allow the iPhone to directly interface with Thread-enabled smart home devices. Free 2 years roadside assistance via satellite. Now with the iPhone 15, Apple is rolling out roadside assistance for less serious emergencies. So this is free for 2 years with the activation of any iPhone 15 model. It's also available for the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro. Apple has partnered with AAA, and members get free access to this service, but if you're not a AAA member, you can also pay separately. So folks, that has been a look at 50 of my favorite iPhone 15 Pro features. Which one's your favorite? Let me know down below in the comment section, and special thanks to our sponsor. 9to5Mac is brought to you by iMazing 3, now in beta for macOS. It's got a brand new UI that's faster and even easier to use with your iPhone, iPad, or iPod. For a limited time, use the coupon 9to5iMazing3 at checkout to get 30% off until the end of October. Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9to5Mac.